All right, so we have obviously big news to talk about. Tom Brady, no longer a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, no longer a quarterback in football. He has officially announced his retirement a couple of days after it was unofficially announced that he was retired, and he disputed that heavily, only to retire just a couple of days later. So kind of weird there, but we'll talk about that, all that craziness. We'll talk about my thoughts on it as a Buccaneers fan. But first, let's talk about it just as a story in sports, right? I mean, this is one of the greatest players in a sports uniform we've ever seen. That's the reality of the situation. And again, I know Rodgers fans and maybe some Peyton Manning fans will say not the true GOAT, whatever. He was the most dominant in terms of what he accomplished. There's no denying that. He accomplished the most out of anybody this career that he had. He literally said, I am not going to stop playing until I suck, and that it took too long. I mean, that's just an absurd thing to happen. And I think that, him having an MVP caliber season at 44 years old is crazy. I think him winning 7 Super Bowl rings is a testament to how good he was. And it wasn't even just one team. He goes to Tampa Bay and wins one there as well. So the first thought is just, we're losing an NFL legend. And, regardless of if you were a Brady fan or a Brady hater, you can't deny that he was a big part of your football watching experience for the past 20 years. And it's officially a new era now in the post-Tom Brady era. Let's talk about the Buccaneers, because the first thing I want to say, listen, I'm wearing my Brady jersey. I got it this year, and I'm glad I got it, because the reality is these past 2 years as a Bucs fan have been by far and away the most fun I have had watching football. It has been an absolute blast to be a Buccaneers fan these past couple of years, which is not something you can typically say. Typically, it is not a blast to be a Buccaneers fan. And quite frankly, I think it might go back to being that way. I'm not having too high expectations now in the post-Brady era. I realize what he brought to this team. I totally do. And listen, are the Buccaneers going to be like the worst team in football after Brady leaves? I don't think so, but we're certainly not a championship contending team unless we can figure out the quarterback position, which puts us kind of similar to about a dozen other teams in the NFL, if not more. We're another football team now, but at least we got a Super Bowl ring to show for it, so I'm not complaining too much. I did go to Tom Brady's last game, which I did not realize that was the case when I went there. I was at the divisional round against the Rams, and one of my friends who I was at the game with said, hey, this could be Brady's last game, and I kind of laughed it off and said, that's not happening. No way this is going to be Brady's last game. I mean, he had such a good season at 44. He's going to come back. He's Tom Brady. He has this obsessive mentality, but he decided to retire, and I didn't think about the family aspect, which kind of hard to argue with that. Listen, he's accomplished everything he's had to accomplish. And I think a big part of why he even came back this year was, in fact, that he had said, after the first year, he felt kind of indebted to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a little bit because they signed him on for 2 years and they did take a chance on him. I know that sounds silly because Brady has accomplished so much, but the reality is Brady was not this hot free agent signing that maybe you would have thought, looking back on it now. If you remember, only 2 teams officially offered Brady an offer, and that's coming from Brady. The Chargers and the Buccaneers were the only teams that tried to sign Tom Brady. No one else did. So you can kind of say, Brady can go anywhere and win a Super Bowl. Well, when he was, coming off of that last season in New England, he was considered washed up. So the fact that he was able to go from that to winning another Super Bowl and coming close to winning a 8th Super Bowl this season, just narrowly losing to the team that is in the Super Bowl in the Los Angeles Rams. Who knows what happens if the Buccaneers win that game, but still, it's just a testament to how good he really is. He's the second all time in Buccaneers passing touchdowns. That's just crazy, right? Second all time. And if he played another season, he probably would have broken the record and been the first all time in Buccaneers passing touchdowns, especially if you include playoffs. But even if you don't, he's still second. So, I mean, again, you kind of run out of things to say about Brady, right? I mean, I could list off some of the statistics he has and, all these records and all that stuff. But the reality is he has them all. I mean, and his numbers in the playoffs are like Wayne Gretzky numbers. So he's just so far ahead of everyone else. He has all the regular statistics. To me, he is the greatest of all time. I think that, I'm not someone who says you can't even argue anyone else. I think you can make some in good faith arguments about other people, but I do think that you especially factor in the era he started in and the numbers he put up then and the numbers he's put up in the, once the passing explosion happened around 2010 and even in 2015 when there was a second jump in passing, he was still able to, keep pace with all these young guys. So, yeah, I mean, great stuff. We should probably talk about the Adam Schefter of it all now, right? I mean, Brady just yesterday was sort of saying, I haven't made my decision, and how could, I'm annoyed that people broke this, and then today announced his retirement. My guess was he was always going to announce it today. That's my guess, and he was a little bit annoyed that people try to broke the story for him. And this was my guess when the news happened, was that he was retiring, that Schefter's sources were correct, which they probably were, but he just didn't want other people to break his retirement, which I think is fair. And quite frankly, I kind of feel like for these guys like Adam Schefter, who has done this a couple of times, like, why are we breaking other guys' retirements? Like, why are we doing this anyways? Let them make that announcement. I mean, if they don't really care and they don't care about it, then okay, then you can announce it. But if they do care about it, like, why are you trying to take that moment away from them, I guess? And I think about the Andrew Luck situation where Andrew Luck, it was announced he was retired in the middle of a game, in the middle of a preseason game. If he broke that news, he could have maybe explained it to Colts fans and he wouldn't have left being, the last memory of him being a Colt wasn't him getting booed off of a stadium. He could have maybe had a better explanation for them, and they could have understood it more and realized it was about injuries. He wasn't just quitting on a team. So that whole thing could have gone over better had Schefter not tweeted it then. And in this situation, like, Brady clearly, I mean, he's someone who always makes a big spectacle out of everything. He makes a big spectacle out of his, playoff game videos, right? So of course he's going to make a big spectacle out of his retirement. There's no denying that. And it's not something that I think we should sit here and say that Schefter is a horrible person for necessarily, but it's kind of one of those things where maybe we should just kind of sit here and say, let's stop with this having people announce other people's retirements. You just sit back and you wait, and even if you know the story, just know the story, and you don't have to break it, but I guess that's just the business they're in. But I think it would be cool if all these networks got together and said, hey, listen, all of our guys, we're not going to announce retirements on these players. We're going to let them announce their retirements. That's what I wish would happen, but again, probably will never happen, but that's what I think would be cool. But yeah, so Tom Brady, no longer a quarterback in the NFL. It's Blaine Gabbert season now. Let's go, Blaine Gabbert. That's where we're back at. Hey, listen, I spent decades, watching Jameis Winston and Josh McCown, Mike Glennon, Josh Freeman, Josh Johnson back in the day. I can deal with some more of it. I'm not too broken up, but I am very happy that I got to see Tom Brady for a couple years and win a championship. That was fun. So, yeah, that's what I think about this. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.